being a good listener is important to be an entrepreneur or to run your own business. People usually are willing to give you a second chance in life, in business, if you're willing to listen to them, if you're willing to take ownership over a mistake.
Yeah.
Rarely does a mistake cause you to lose business. What causes you to lose business is your reaction to that mistake. Mm-hmm. That's what I found. It's how you react to those mistakes which sets you apart from other companies.
Welcome to The Roll Call, the podcast where we dive into the roles that define us. I'm your host, John Glahn. On each episode, we explore the journeys of people discovering their true roles in life, business, and beyond. Get ready for inspiring conversations about finding purpose and authenticity. Let's roll the roll call. Welcome to The Roll Call. I'm John Glahn. I have with me Jonathan Booz, the Director of Business Development, which I think is an understatement, of Nursing Unlimited, and is a part of my community that I've been a part of for a long time and has been in the same circles for the longest time, and I think is probably qualifies as one of the nicest humans that I've ever come across. So I'm excited that you finally got to come and be on the show. So
Thank you.
All are accounted for. Let's start the roll call.
Well, first I want to say I'm a little hurt that you had Herman Moore and Mike Morse on before me, but I'll gladly play second fiddle to them.
This is fair. This is fair. Their calendar opened up first.
That's true. And honestly, thank you so much for that statement. You, in turn, you're a great guy and you're one of the best people I know. So I'm happy to do your show and hopefully share some of my experiences with you and your audience.
Yeah. I think, see, by the way, you see how I just do that? I lead with such nice things so I get it back. So I need that. My ego needs that so much. No, but from a, one, in the same community, two, odd connection with your brother through a good friend of mine through through golf and some other things, who's again, another just an amazing human. And I don't know how he can golf in a sweater in the summer. But
he's talented.
Yes. And then, again, from a smaller community, right? Then your nephews through playing with running with my son. So it's amazing that never knew those connections. And then now it's all coming
It's very
true.
incestual.
Yes. Yeah. And actually for everyone's use, again, overshare. No one really gives a hoot what I'm going to talk about. But we were at a charity event for our school, for an auction for our school. And that's where we just started just jamming and we're like, all right, let's do it. Because, it's, I think this is your first podcast.
Really, this is my first podcast like this. Yeah. So I'm excited.
Yeah. And so, most people are like, I just had someone last week. I was like, come join me. And he's like, nah, I don't think I'm ready. I'm like, you don't have to be ready for anything. But
I don't think anyone's ever ready for anything. You just have to kind of jump in.
Yeah. So I know you have many different ventures, entrepreneurial background, et cetera. So we're going to get into all of those.
Sure.
But I want to start with what you're in today, Nursing Unlimited, where I love what you do because you're helping people, in their homes, helping families transition, helping lots of things. And so let's just start with how'd you get here?
Well, my mom is a nurse, and she really for the longest time, you could go back to when she was 13 and 14 years old. She knew she wanted to be a nurse. She knew she wanted to care for people. She knew she wanted to help people. She cared for her grandmother. She got into pediatric nursing, which she loved. And during that same time, she was also working for kind of a small company that did visits for the elderly in their homes. And she kind of saw what was happening and thought she could do better and thought that this would be something that would fill a niche in the market. And so back in 1980, while she was still working multiple jobs as a nurse, she started Nursing Unlimited. Wow. And at the time, I think there were a half a dozen agencies like hers in the state. Fast forward 46 years later, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, today. So, she saw this need for helping people age in their home.
Yeah.
And, as a society, we're so quick to pass people off and put them in an assisted living or put them in a nursing home or oh, I don't want to have mom or dad live with me. I'm too busy. Ship them off with a relative. And she knew that providing care in the home was a much better option than a facility, and it also improved quality of life for the individual that you're caring for. Mm-hmm. So she has always been kind of the caring individual, and that goes from her being my mom and a sister and a friend to a boss, where she treats her employees like they're family, and that's kind of, we've always been a family. Our business, I think the average time that our in-office staff has worked for Nursing Unlimited is 20 plus years. So when you work for somebody or with somebody for that many years, the lines blur between employee and family member, and it's kind of just becomes a seamless thing. So
yeah, and I imagine there was this thing called COVID that probably put a little bit of emphasis on what you're doing and having that strong connection. Whereas, I just can't imagine how tough.
Well, I think that was a difficult time for everybody. Obviously, in home care, there were a lot of unknowns. There were a lot of restrictions, and there were a lot of our patients that were scared. Our employees during that time, and all healthcare workers really stepped up and showed why they're so valuable.
Right.
Our in-office staff, we had to call audibles on many things: how we worked, how we visited patients, how everything was done, and our staff was just, okay, what do we need to do? There was no hesitation. It was, we're here to care for the patient, and what do we need to do?
Right.
And to me, that was like a huge turning point. I feel like for me, with our business and our employees and our family, knowing that they have so much skin in the game, so to speak, with how they do their job.
Right. And actually, to that point, I mean, you mentioned how the longevity of most of the nurses that you haven't used. I happen to have a little bit of insight in that world of most home healthcare nursing, not terribly firsthand, but knowing that certainly when you're a staffing, you're a service company,
right,
and you have to have an extension of you in all those homes and all those things. And from my understanding, that most folks in your competitors or in that world, like, staffing is the hardest thing, and keeping people.
Oh, absolutely, right? Yeah.
Which that churn has been, because I had some friends that were trying to get in. Back, your mom did it before it was way cool, right? Back in 1980. Yeah. And now there were franchises and all these things that came up through the years. And so I had someone who was trying to, was thinking about buying into one and realizing that the biggest headache they had was retaining people. And they was like, I just don't know if I can do that.
Yeah. I think where a lot of home care companies have failed, especially recently, is that they are created out of a profitability idea. And there are business people that want to be involved because they know, oh, we can make money doing this. And I'm a smart businessman or a businesswoman, and I can do this. Well, home care is so much more, healthcare is so much more than X's and O's and profit and loss. It's the connection you have with your patients and with your people. And, my mom didn't start her business to make money. She started her business because she knew she could help people, and she knew she had a better way of doing it. So I think a lot of people come in and, well, why aren't we able to retain talent? Why aren't we able to get clients? Why aren't we? And it's like, well, you're looking at it backwards. You're not looking at it the right way. You're doing it for the wrong reasons. And I think, like so many other things in life, if you're doing something to only make money, the chances are very slim that you're going to succeed in the long term. You might succeed in the short term, but you're going to burn bridges most likely, and you're not going to be able to sustain that. Yeah. I had mentioned our in-office staff is small and very family oriented. Our outside nurses and nurse aides who actually go and perform the help and the care in people's homes, we have some that have worked for us for 15 and 20 years. And again, they work for us because we treat them like family. And that goes not only maybe paying them well or doing special things like flowers on their birthday or things like that, but also knowing that life happens. So if something happens out of your control, we're there to support you. And that's happened countless times. I mean, I couldn't tell you the amount of times my mom over the years has, essentially out of her own pocket helped our employees, when times were tough for them. So that's kind of, I have a big shoes to fill, but I'm trying, I think every day, especially as I get older, to kind of take some of her lead and kind of move it, towards the future.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And so to be, do you think that's your secret sauce?
Well, I think going above and beyond is our secret sauce. I think, for instance, a couple weeks ago, I was at a client's house changing their smoke alarms. We had one of our in-office staff drive one of our patients to an appointment because there was a car issue with another employee. And that's just stuff you do. You do that as a good organization in whatever business you're in, whatever sector you're in. You just have to roll with the punches. And that's kind of something that I would say is, if you have an entrepreneurial spirit and you want to be a business owner and you want to run your own business, it's all sunshine and lollipops some of the time, but a lot of the time it's like, hey, I got a clogged toilet in the office and we got to fix it, or so-and-so's car broke down, or
you just have to figure
the
out
internet's down, and these are things that these challenges never stop. And you just have to learn how to roll with it and do your best.
So we're going to come back into this business, but you haven't always been in this business.
No, I have not. No, and I don't. I went to school for sales and marketing, and I didn't always see myself maybe kind of working in healthcare. For a time, my dad sold real estate, and I was really intrigued by that. So part of me was very interested in doing that. But I also, again, knowing that I kind of had this entrepreneurial urge and this itch to scratch, my brother and I ran a wine bar for a number of years, which was an incredible experience. And it was, I think, really taught me more of the X's and O's of the business owner from the ground floor,
Yeah, talking about having to clean floors, do all of it when you're...
Right. I mean, I remember we would do special events at our bar, and the first special event we were hosting, we lost internet and our point of sale system didn't work. And we have 50, 60 people there, and they're wanting to buy things, and the internet's out. Yeah. So it's like writing down orders and trying to get on the phone with AT&T and doing this, and it's like that type of thing, I think, teaches you just to be resilient, and you got to roll with the punches. You just got to do the best you can. And
the hustle, the grind, right? That's the part that, again, this comes up as a theme. I don't know how many times in here, and how at times I felt like I've lost that grind, like that whole energy of startup. And you're going to do anything and everything it takes. Certainly with you and your brother, and you're, in that retail space, and that's a, that's a tough world to live in, because it is, you're you're in it.
You have to have thick skin too, because the nice thing about it though is you get a lot of immediate feedback.
Yeah.
And if you're in the hospitality industry, you need that because you need to know how you can be better. You need to know how you can improve. And I think that really that taught me and served me well in my role today with Nursing Unlimited. I think ultimately people just want to be heard and they want their concerns to be just validated. And that, sometimes that's just listening. And I think, again, being a good listener is important to be an entrepreneur or to run your own business. And that is something that I think as you get older, you realize more and more, do a little bit less talking and do more listening. And that's a challenge for me sometimes, but
both of us, pal.
Right. Yeah. But, that it's, people usually are willing to give you a second chance in life, in business, if you're willing to listen to them, if you're willing to take ownership over a mistake.
Yeah.
That's what I've found in business. Rarely does a mistake cause you to lose business. What causes you to lose business is your reaction to that mistake. That's what I found.
Yeah.
So if you don't own that mistake, that's where people start to doubt you as a business owner, as a leader.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I think as a company do really well. We will own our mistakes. Nobody's perfect. The world is not perfect. No business is perfect. So it's how you react to those mistakes, which sets you apart from other companies.
And I think that's a really great nugget for anyone out there, entrepreneurs for sure, but anyone, is I think that people fall into a few different categories, and sometimes it's the perfection category or I'm going to wait until I'm ready category,
right?
Which leads to inactivity, which means it never happens.
Right.
Right. Never believing in yourself to go start a wine bar or to start a home nursing company, is that most people are so concerned about making mistakes that they never take that first step forward. And, just like hopping on a podcast, right? So many people freeze because
right. I think mistakes are inevitable in life, obviously. And if you wait for the perfect time, you're going to be waiting forever. There's never a perfect time for anything.
Yeah.
It wasn't a perfect time for my mom when she was, 26 years old, starting the business and having to work multiple jobs and working every weekend and
young kids and everything.
And young kids. And it's never a perfect time. So, I would say that if you're thinking about doing something for yourself and you have a passion about something, the time is now. I think, last week we were at an event here, and I remember, I can't remember exactly who said it, but, yesterday was better, but today is still pretty good. So, yesterday would have been the day to do it, when to get started. Today's pretty good though.
Yeah, right. And I think that just even in decision-making in business, you can't just go head first and to jump in to dive into some new market or hire people. You've got to think through things. But so many times, and again, guilty as charged, that we do paralysis by analysis when it's the fact of, I just want everyone to hear again, it's about how you fix whatever you created. Right. You're not going to be, you won't be perfect, but if you wait, so many of us wait too long to make a move into a market or to do something that they miss the opportunity. So then it's a failure anyway.
Right.
And, or to grow your business, to grow, again, whether grow geographically or acquire someone or do something that's crazy that's going to cost some money up front, but you'll be wildly efficient or whatever it might be. That's what freezes most people from growing. There's where there's a ceiling of growth for themselves and for their business, because it's just that mindset of fail fast, and just be ready to clean up your shit, for lack of a better word.
Absolutely, no, absolutely. I think, like you said, there are countless people who have the idea that never do anything about it. Mm-hmm. And one nice thing about being a small business owner and having that freedom is that there is no corporate hierarchy that I have to go through to get something done. I can make a decision over the phone in 5 seconds and switch gears. Mm-hmm. And I think that flexibility in decision making, it might not always work, but I think it shows that we're trying to work with our client, or we're trying to work with our employee, or we're trying to do whatever we do better.
Yeah. So, with your permission,
sure,
I want to step into the mess.
Sure,
if there is any.
Yeah.
Because
there's always a mess.
I look at it, and we've talked a little bit, but being in most of your experiences is family business, whether it's with your brother, with your mom. And I mentioned your title was Director of Business Development, and how murky that is, because in a small business it's
a fancy title.
It's cute and it's wonderful, but what's the real title of what you're actually doing?
Well, and again, I think when you're involved in a small business, you can have a title, but you're doing way more than your title may show. Right. And it's kind of like you talk about working with family. Working with family is wonderful. You do at times have to have thick skin, though. Mm-hmm. And you have to learn to separate your family from your coworker. Yeah. And it's incredibly difficult. And I know a lot of people who working with family has had a negative impact on them. Thankfully, it is not with me. Right. And I think it's because my brother and I have a great relationship, and we both played to our strengths when we were in the hospitality industry. Same as my mom. I think we both play to our strengths. I think she is much more medically inclined and is the natural caregiver. That's why she started her business. I think I come from more of a analytical, a business-driven sales standpoint. Right. So I think there's a lot of conversations we have where maybe my mom wants to do something that is 110% care-based, and maybe I want to do something that's 110% more business decision-based. So what we have to do is put our heads together and figure out how we can blend those ideas. But there's always disagreements. Right. It's life. Yeah. I mean, you don't end friendships over a small disagreement or a relationship over that. I mean, you work through it. Right. And you learn from your mistakes, and you try not to let them happen again.
Yeah, and I think one thing that really helps that happen is having everyone in the partnership be whole with themselves. And what I mean by that is, you said, don't let a small disagreement ruin a relationship. Well, that actually happens.
Absolutely.
Often.
Absolutely.
And it's when people aren't whole with themselves. They're holding back from something because they believe they're owed something, or they're resenting the other person, or all those things.
Right.
Because, and so many folks that I know on the family side, it was mostly good because they had the young son, daughter coming up through the business, so they helped them really grow the business. Right. But then when it came time for them to sunset and move on from the business, that's when things suddenly change. And so many times I've had the founder, when it's time to really truly transition it to the family, it gets ugly, because first, who knows, whatever that reason is, right? You might think as a loving human person.
I mean, I can tell you,
I
think that that business, if you have a founder, or you have someone that's been in a business for 40, 50 years, that business is like a baby to them. Mm-hmm. I mean, they take a lot of pride and ownership over that. And I can see how that's an issue. I think the nice thing is, with the relationship I have with my mom, is we have both, obviously her longer than me, before I was born even, but we've both been involved for such a long time in some capacity that I do have an ownership over the business. I know my coworkers. I've known them for decades.
Right.
And they're really the reason, to go on a bit of a tangent here, that's one reason I think that we will avoid that pitfall is we have such great people that work with us.
Yeah.
And they all really have some, ownership over the company. I mean, because of their longevity and just how much they care.
Yeah. And I'm going to, I'll piss somebody off probably, but I think also in the instances, gender does make a difference. Now, when you're in a care business and your mom started because of care. So there's a different, even not even knowing your mother, I feel like I'm pretty much there with her, right? From how she would and will treat that next phase whenever that time is.
Right.
And the other instances, I'll be honest, the things that are coming up in my head from an experience standpoint is a father and a son. And women are better at this than us of potentially. This is a generalization.
I'm offended that you said that.
Us knuckleheads or, the dads that was their first baby, by the way, you just happened to be born.
Right.
Like your
right.
Right. There's that's a whole different deal. So like coming back to the point of, I absolutely know that whatever the next stage is, your mother's coming from a whole different place of care. Because again, on the male side of things, when it's money and transitioning of like the actual, like not just you're in this role, but you're now buying it from you, or however you want to do that, the ego takes a whole different stance, and they forget that they're son and father. I mean, I could count 5. My own personal experience of knowing that that's where it gets like. And we all look at it from a standpoint, like, how could you possibly do that? But like you said, there's way more behind it than
there's
just
always
a
way more.
transaction.
I think the nice thing with just in my situation is maybe our management styles are different.
Mm-hmm.
Our philosophies are just different enough where I'm not trying to replace her or be her. I'm just trying to be myself. And I think she's been really great. You need to be yourself. You need to manage and run things your way too.
Yeah.
In the back of my mind though, it's every decision I make, I want to have at least a glimmer of, how would my mom do this?
Yeah.
How would she do it? How would she sprinkle in more love or care? Because again, that's why we're successful. That's it. It's the caring. It's knowing that, there's so many changes in the world that are coming. Mm-hmm. AI, for one, robotics, things like that. I know that a robot or artificial intelligence is never going to replace human interaction or human touch or that feeling that our caregiver can give our patient, that love and assistance. So that's something that excites me, and that's something that makes me feel good going into the next decade or two.
Yeah,
knowing that as long as we keep doing what we do best, things are going to be okay.
Yeah. And actually it just clicked on something for me. I think in a lot of times, right, their identity is tied to the business that we just talked about. But they also maybe are fearful that their legacy is going to be lost or handed over, or this kid, their son or daughter or whatever, is already making changes to this business and they're making it better, but it's different. And it's interesting that you already brought up, like you already think about, hey, how would mom handle this?
I mean,
so
change,
that'd be less of a
and
thing, right?
you say making things different. It's like even no one likes change, even if it's change for the better. They really, in most cases, don't like change.
Right.
I think that's that's human nature. So seeing something change for the better or for the worse is going to elicit similar feelings. I mean, so I think it's my job to give the respect to my mom's legacy, as hopefully she's going to continue to work for as long as a long time. I don't know how many years that would be.
Yeah.
But my job is to, I think, act kind of as a steward to the business a little bit. I just want to take it and give it the respect it deserves and keep pushing forward.
Yeah, that's great. So how about on kind of the role definition?
Sure.
Who's running the business?
So I would say that, that's one of the things with, you talk about what gets messy.
That was a softball.
Yeah, that was.
For me, not you.
I would say that we both run the business, I would say, in unison, if I could be diplomatic. Again, there are parts of the business that my mom is better at than me.
Yeah.
And I think there are parts of the business that I'm better at than she is.
Yeah.
But my philosophy as a leader, for lack of a better term, is to know your limitations and to let the people that are better than you at something take the reins.
Yeah.
Everyone that works for us is better than me at certain things. So it would be foolish of me to try to do their job or to try to even come close to their skill set. But it would also be foolish of me to not bring my best foot forward and do what I know I'm better equipped for.
Right.
So I think what we've been doing that's worked well is maybe more of the care side. My mom is taking the lead, and I think more of the maybe the business or the back end or contracts or agreements or things of that nature, negotiations. That's something that I think I'm more equipped for. And again, that's something that we've discussed, and it has worked well so far.
Yeah. So on that note, so then, from the business side or the growth side, I know you are geographically, strategically where you are, right? What does growth look like for you?
I think growth for us, we can physically be located anywhere as long as we have employees that are willing to work in certain areas. Our growth can expand quite quickly. I think the biggest challenge is, and you mentioned it earlier in our discussion here, finding employees, retaining the employees, and having them able to work in those areas. So I think growth for us is continuing to hire good people and retain the people we have. We pay our employees, I think, fairly, and we like to reward them for their service and for being so loyal to us. So I think growth for us is continuing to hire people that are good. I think growth for us is trying to utilize some of our partnerships and some of our avenues to expand, our geographic region.
Yeah. So, because I love to at the end, but we're going to do it right now.
Sure.
How people can get in touch with you and all that. Well, I'll do that in the end. But so if I'm hearing you right, you could use not only, because obviously we always are looking for new clients, right? And you're in the consumer space. So interested to talk about, you're saying partnerships and maybe how you scale and grow that way. But then, hey, you're also looking for people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So, so on the people side, good place to work. The environment is a loving family environment.
Absolutely.
And I think, are you normally pulling from traditional nursing from hospitals, or people, because people are wanting not be in that type of environment anymore?
We have people that work for us and work for hospitals, or urgent cares, or rehab facilities. The nice thing is you can work for us one shift a month if you want. You don't have to work for us full time. You get to pick your hours. So many people that work for hospitals are put on a schedule. And here you're working your
It's
3/12s and you're
yeah.
working 3 midnights and this is the days you work and the days you get off. That is not how we operate. You tell us when you want to work, and then it's our job to find, fit those puzzle pieces together and find you what you want. So I think the flexibility is the biggest difference that we offer is you get to choose. And again, you're working one-on-one. So instead of working at a hospital and you're on a floor and you have 20 patients, you're working one-on-one. And what that allows you to do is you really get to learn about your patient. And, we've had employees that have worked the same patient for 5, 6, 7 years, and they become like family.
Right.
And
That's a trusted. I mean, it's a trusted person, right? That's
exactly
for their family too.
It's what it does is it creates some normalcy for the patient. It's when you're aging in place, it's often not a glamorous situation, or you go through those normal things you would go through as you're aging, and I think to have some like a consistent person there that knows you really well is incredibly important.
Yeah, because you're right. It's like you said, in most of those situations, it's a remote family member who's across the country, or someone who just doesn't choose to take the time to spend time with them. So that becomes probably the extent their family.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. Well, that's great. So now on the other side, right? What? How do you attract clients on the other side? Are you doing one-to-one consumer, or you have?
We do a lot of community work at different assisted living facilities, through chambers of commerce, through different elderly associations. But a lot of our business honestly comes from word of mouth, and it comes from previous client referrals.
Awesome.
So if we did a great job helping Mr. and Mrs. Smith, their family will say, hey, I've got a friend and their mom has dementia and she needs some help. Can you call him? And I think that shows, to me, that is a great way to get business, because it shows that we've done our job and we've, excelled in that way.
And by title, that's your game, right?
Right.
Business development.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, actually, I want to back up to the wine business, because I like to talk about. I'm not suggesting it's a bad thing or not. But you wound it down for a reason.
I think for me personally, it was a time in my life where I was starting to have children, and the business was very demanding from 6 p.m. until we closed.
Yeah.
And
every day of the week.
Every day, and especially weekends. So I think for me, it was important to, create more of a family work balance. And I think my brother, in a way, kind of agreed with that. So that was the right decision. I think we had incredible experience for 5 or 6 years. We got to meet wonderful people. And again, we got to experience something that I didn't experience growing up. So it was definitely a different side of being a business owner again. And you talked about, the nitty gritty and doing things, that you got to do to run a business. And that really was like the first, okay, everything is on me.
Yeah.
And it was incredibly valuable, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel terrible because I've just been saying your brother. It's Brandon. Brandon Booth.
Right.
For him, so listen, the guy deserves to be called out. But on that too, and I didn't even know how or why, but because that hospitality business is, again, one of the toughest businesses to be in. But two, most people think, that's why I didn't call it a failure, because I don't know. I didn't know the answer, because that's not the case. It's I have to pivot to do something else because again, there are seasons of our lives, and some businesses. I mean, again, I'm sure it was just you're riding the high so much of the time of like. I can imagine you two, you and your brother, just because you're such.
It was a different lifestyle.
So you just loved it. I mean, I'm sure it's fun and great and wonderful, but that can't be sustained.
I think that life is hard to sustain. You just said it.
Yeah.
And it was incredible while it lasted. And I will take those memories with me. And my brother, I've met fantastic people through that life that I still keep in contact with.
Yeah.
So right, I don't view it certainly as a failure. I view it as a chapter. And again, we talked about trying things and pivoting, and you do that, and you learn from both your successes and your mistakes.
Yes.
And I made a lot of mistakes in that business, but I think I've learned from many of those, and it has helped me in what I do today, not just in business, but in life in general.
Yeah, because I think I know it's not the same anymore. People don't stay in careers for more than a couple of years, but for those with the entrepreneurial itch, so many of them it's hard not to put all of your worth or self-worth into this venture, and did it work or not, or it's for the long haul.
And I think that was part of it. I think given my personal life and where emotionally I wanted to take the next chapter of my life, the wine bar and that, they couldn't coexist. It just wouldn't. And it was, like you said, putting your all. I couldn't have put my all in that anymore.
Yeah.
And for me, if I'm not going to put my all into it, what's the point?
Well, and that's a maturity that unfortunately, or an awareness that many people don't have or get, right? I've gone on the other side of it where it's your identity is the business, and you're all in, and the family suffers. And so most people, sometimes it becomes a breaking point in a different way. It could be a dissolving of a marriage. It could be trying to hold on to both, and then the business actually fails. It's not chosen to turn off.
Right.
It fails, and it causes all kinds of other things. So applaud the maturity, and your brother to I'm sure he would have loved to continue, because actually I know I will be with him in a couple of weeks at a member guest, and I know he's going to bring bottles of wine.
He probably will.
And he'll offer them to everyone, and they're not going to be barefoot.
No, they won't.
So just giving, so I'm sure he could still love to be in that kind of business, but to step away from that, and you guys, like you said, you're still super close. And
I think it's better to get out too early than to get out too late.
Yeah.
And that would be, that's the key. And that's in so many things in life. That's in relationships, business, investing.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best time to get out is when you're not really sure you should.
Yeah. Back to fail fast.
Yeah.
That same thing, right? Hanging on too long.
Right.
Just in any part of those. So nuggets, people, decision-making, stepping into something and stepping out of something.
Right.
Right. Do some homework, but do it fast.
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. Well, Jonathan, this has been awesome, as I knew it would. And we could, we talked before.
We could talk for hours more.
Yeah, we both have lots of wind, and it's great. I like to finish with a failure or a mistake that you've learned the most from, and or that someone else can learn from.
I feel like a failure, mistake that I've learned from it goes back to probably the COVID era for our industry. Mm-hmm. And I think the failure was maybe, like you said, trying to wait for something to be perfect. Trying to pivot. Well, what do we have to do now where our limitations of how we do business? And I think at that point, once the dust settled, it was like, well, you know what? We should have just gone in gung-ho and just done it and not thought as much.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that is something that I, kind of carry with me now. It's if you're in a pinch and, hey, just do it, just try it,
Yeah. I think the medication for a decision is just taking action, right? I mean, I think that's
a good way to put it.
For everything. It's just when there's a crossroad, take it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Doesn't matter which direction, just take one.
Okay. Right. Awesome. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much. So how do nurses connect with the business? how do prospective clients connect with you in the business?
Yeah, I mean, you can go on our website, nursingunlimitedonline.com. You can go on our Facebook page. You can call us 586-285-0300. You can call me on my cell phone if you want, 313-647-1888.
Love it.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you and we'd love to help.
Awesome. And you know what? I can't remember through all this if I mentioned it, right? Metro Detroit is the territory for those, to be clear. And looking to expand, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks.
Thank you, John.
All right. That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in to The Roll Call with John Glahn. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe for more insightful conversations. Remember, discovering your true role in life is a journey worth exploring each and every day. Until next time, keep defining your path and living your authentic self. This is John Glahn signing off.